Oh, welcome to the Sharpe Club. So happy to have you with me this evening. A little bit past 9 p.m. on the East Coast. You're saying to yourself, Larry, it's a little bit late. You're like 5 minutes late. I know I'm human. I was chatting with some funny people, some not so funny, but still talking to some people I was. And not just that, you're saying, Larry, it is 9 p.m. and it's Tuesday. You're supposed to do Monday. That's true. But I was busy doing super cool stuff, super secret. I can't tell you what it was, but I was doing super cool stuff this weekend, so I could not do Monday. So I moved it to Tuesday so that you would stop complaining I'm not doing enough shows. See, this is to keep you guys quiet from yelling at me. I'm doing a show anyway. And here's the best part. The 3 people that I so wanted to bring on Monday all agreed to do Tuesday, which is amazing. You see how many times they got canceled on. They did not cancel on me because they're all cool people. So they will be here. And we're talking about something that I think is very important, particularly in today's world. And that is, how does one become independent, specifically when often your world, your government, your community, your friends may be telling you, that's dumb, don't do that. Don't become independent. Follow us. We're right. Stop. How do you become independent when your system doesn't want you to? And I have a star-studded panel to bring aboard. She is a social media journalist. I call it, I don't know if it's true, but kinda, the one and only Sarah Luna. How are you, Sarah?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And returning champion, someone I've been on stage with before. The man himself, he's part of the Dissident Project. He is a speaker, economist, maybe something like that. Super cool guy anyway, Daniel Martino. How are you, sir?
Hey, good, and you?
Yes, I'm doing great. Good to be with you again. It's been a while, so I'm happy to see you again.
Likewise.
And she is an activist, and she's director for Moms for Freedom and like 80 other things that I can't possibly mention. I'm sure she'll tell me a couple of them. The one and only Legge. How are you?
I'm great, Larry. Nice to meet you guys.
Yes, all good to have you. And let me ask that question. I'm going to start, if I could, with you, Ali, if you don't mind. And the reason why I'm going to start with you is you talk about moms and such often.
Very much.
And when someone is a mom and they've got kids, boy, do they often feel like, I can't take a risk. I can't try to do something different. I can't make a step because I got kids, right? Clearly, that's got to be a part that many moms feel, no, I got to go with the flow. No, I got to do what they say. I got kids. You have to deal with that, don't you?
Well, I think it depends on the situation. That is not the kind of person that I am at all. I will take all the risks and do all the things because I have children.
Oh, I like that. You flipped the script.
Right. This is something I say all the time when I give speeches, that liberty and freedom is not free. As a military member, as a service member, as someone that has served this country as a veteran, and many members of my family have served, we understand that liberty is not free. It requires a very significant level of sacrifice. And it's the same as being a parent. Being a parent requires a very significant level of sacrifice. You give your money, your time, and when it comes to liberty and freedom, you give your life, essentially, and sometimes all 3. And so what are you going to do when liberty hangs in the balance and tyranny's knocking at your door? Are you going to, bend the knee to tyranny in the face of your children?
Yeah, but let me give you pushback. Let me give you real pushback.
Sure.
I agree that people like you would think that way. I think I would think that way too. I have 2 children and I still do this stupid stuff. I still do it, even though I do. Yeah. But I don't think the average American thinks that, right? I think the average American says, that's good for Ali, but she's this, I'm not that, right? I'm this thing. And because I'm this thing, I can't do this. You have to feel that, don't you? Don't you have people who tell you,
yes,
Ali, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Absolutely.
I can't do that.
Larry, all the time. And I ran for school board in 22, and I was the first school board candidate to ever be endorsed by a sitting governor in the history of American politics. And so I received that sentiment all the time.
Yes.
But what I like to say is I was the same way. I didn't want to ruffle the feathers. I did kind of want to go with the status quo, right? But there comes a point in your life where you're like, this is not working. And I have little eyes that are watching me. And if I'm not showing them how to be courageous and how to live and walk by faith and not by fear, then I'm not raising them the right way to push back against what is coming.
Okay, let me move to you, Daniel, for a second, if I could. You came from a country that was trying to stop you, not like a local people, like a country that was trying to stop you, right? So tell me how, I mean, and your family packed up and left the country. I mean, that's a big deal. Tell me.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think we talk a lot about fighting tyranny and standing up for tyranny. And I think that it's important to stand up before it becomes a tyranny, because I think it's too late when it already is a tyrannical government. And I think that's what history tells us, really, of what happens. You know, but when you're already at the point of Venezuela, when the population is disarmed, it's hungry, there's no way to fight back. And the solution is to leave. And so that's why I think America is different, because, you know, there's people like you who are veterans. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of people who are armed, that if the government came for your children to kidnap them, as they do in Venezuela, I don't think people would give them away very easily, as it happens in Venezuela. And I think that would be the right thing. But unfortunately, I think we live in a world today where we're slowly boiled towards tyranny.
Yes.
You know, you see it. I mean, I think that the latest example, it might sound meaningless, like a very first world problem, but like what the EU is doing with censorship on X, because they don't like the space between Elon Musk and Trump. Like, why is a transnational organization trying to censor a conversation of 45 minutes to an hour between two people who are not inciting any violence, nothing, you know, they're stuck in their opinions. It is dangerous because they're trying to use government power, armed weapons, potentially arrest you, like it's happening in the UK, not in Venezuela, but in the UK, because of your opinion. And what are people going to do about it? Well, we're going to vote. How many elections?
That'll fix it.
Yeah, right.
That'll fix it. Problem solved. There we go. Problem solved. Sarah, now you're a veteran also, correct?
Yes.
So let me ask you though, you used to be a nurse.
Yes. I had a short career in nursing. Yes.
See, this is what I want to bring up, right? You've been part of the system twice, but you're clearly not part of the system now.
Definitely not.
What pulled you out? Why did you make that step?
Well, honestly, it kind of started with nursing.
Okay.
Right out of the gate, it was not a very good experience, from having red tape with the Board of Nursing, and just getting licensing. It was a hassle. And then right away, when I started, even in my preceptorship, when I started seeing the correlation between how much more profitable it is to keep people sick instead of make people better.
Wait a minute. You're telling me the government isn't helping us? Stop.
Right. We would call them, like my area was primarily labor and delivery, but when I was working in med surg, which is like the standard floor that you're on, during my preceptorship, there's, what we would call frequent flyers. And they were people that would, come in all the time. Yeah, they would come in all the time, and they would just come to the ER, and they would stay, get some medication, unmanaged diabetes, hypertension,
they would use all the ambulances, right? So that now people who are having heart attacks don't have an ambulance because the frequent flyers want a board, so they want to have a ride to the ER so they can get some drugs.
Exactly. And
how do I know that? Because I ran for governor. It's all over New York. It's rampant.
Before I moved up to more rural area, I lived in San Francisco for years and grew up in the Bay Area. So yeah, and it was just very disheartening. But there was a series of events. Then, as you were talking about last week, the mandates and the lockdowns, and So
can I ask you about that? Why doesn't, I imagine these people are covered by like Medicaid or Medicare, so it's government paid the emergency, but if it's not a real emergency, shouldn't they be charged afterwards?
No, they'll get sued, number one, if they don't pick them up. So the companies will be sued, number one. The government supports them. And number two, the actual price is so low, it doesn't matter, right? One of the things when I was running for governor, I literally said we have to raise the price. The price to show up to emergency room is something like $3 or $12, something low for emergency room.
For them.
Yes, for them.
I was going to say, because if I go without an emergency for the emergency room, I think they're going to bill me a couple $1,000.
100%. But for them, it's like $12, I think, or something low like that. So I say we have to triple it to $36. And people will say, that's crazy. I said, no, you have $36 to go to the emergency room. How do I know that? Because your nails are done and you have the newest iPhone. That's how I know you can afford $36, because your nails are done and you have the newest iPhone. So you can spend $36. And once you do $36, what winds up happening, for those who don't know, there's no way to go to collections because it's $12. Nobody will take you to collections. You can't sue the people. They just go, I'm not paying, goodbye. But if it's $36 and they do it 10 times, now it's 360 plus more. Now collections will take you, and there's a punishment for their action. That's why I wanted to triple it, not to punish the poor, but to punish the frequent flyers, so that poor people who are actually sick would have an actual, ambulance.
Creating accountability.
Correct. Yes. But yes, that's actually the thing. Am I wrong, Sarah? Tell me if I'm off with that.
No. And also just the lack of attention that was given to preventative health care and, and the way that it was very little patient education. So, it's like, oh, you have diabetes, here, take this. But no one's explaining to people, diet management and things like this. And then people come in and they only retain a very small portion of what the doctor is telling them. So as a nurse, you're supposed to be the patient educator, but the support's not there. So it's a very broken system.
Yes, it is crazy how broken it is. I remember, I was talking about this just the other day, about how in New York City, it's become actually a two-tiered system, right? Wealthy people don't go to doctors who take insurance. All the best doctors don't take insurance in New York City. It's already that way. That will happen throughout the entire country soon. That's the next step.
Yeah.
And what happens is people, when you go to a doctor who takes insurance, you're in the way. Mm-hmm. So you go in and the appointment's at 3. They see you at maybe 4:45 if you're lucky. There's 2 doctors, 5 administrators, and they're more worried about taking your data down than anything else. They shove you to the side. They're rude to you. You sit in a room, which is, they haven't updated it in 17 years. The doctor sees you for maybe 5 minutes, and it ends every time the same way. With that, just what Sarah said, either a prescription, a test, or procedure. Why? That's how they get paid.
Yes.
The wealthy don't do this. The wealthy go to a private doctor. They just swipe their credit card, or they paid in advance, or whatever the case may be. The appointment's at 3:00. You get seen latest 3:05. There are 5 doctors and 2 administrators. The absolute reverse. The room is nice and set up ready for you. Why? Because you're the customer. You show up. The doctor says, hey, to your point, Sarah says, how are you eating? How are you sleeping? What's your stress level? What's going on with your life? Because he's already paid. She's already paid. She's been paid. She's happy to talk to you. She got paid already. You swapped your credit card. She's happy. No problems at all. And she doesn't do a procedure or a prescription, because she just goes, whatever you need. She might tell you, don't do that. Change your exercise routine or whatever. Change how you're sleeping or whatever a doctor would tell you. But here's the most important piece. You know this if you go into a doctor who takes insurance. They will give you a prescription for aspirin. They'll give you a prescription. You know it. They'll give you a prescription for Tylenol. Why?
How many times do they do that too when you go to the VA? Or
yes, VA, same thing.
The VA is government healthcare. Close for your kids. It's like, here's some Tylenol. Like, I can go to the corner store and pick up Tylenol.
But they don't make money on that.
No, they don't.
That's why they don't do that. But the private doctor goes, hey, Daniel, you're fine. Take some Tylenol. You'll be good. Go to CVS, pick it up. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Now, you might laugh at that, but that's what I want everyone to have.
Yeah.
Right.
When the wealthy people say Medicare for all, what they mean is Medicare for y'all.
Get it.
Not for me. You guys get
Medicare. I like that framing, Medicare for y'all.
Medicare for y'all. I'm keeping my doctor. You get them doctors.
Have you seen these new services where it's like a subscription doctor's office where you pay like a few $100s a month? It depends on your characteristics, family size, all of that. And then you get like this guaranteed service of primary care provider. Yes. That doesn't cover any emergency or like surgeries, all of that, of course. But it seems like a really good service.
Depending upon the place, it does.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? There are some places that do, right? Depends.
Okay.
And what happens is, It's basically what happened with the tech industry. The tech industry used to be break fix, means when your computer was down, they would charge you per hour to repair your computer. So it was in their best interest for your computers to be broken. So they were always broken. There was always an upgrade to be done. That's how they got paid. They changed now. Most places you go to, you pay per computer a monthly fee. That's what you pay. It's in their best interest for you to never be down, because they want you to be on always, so they never have to touch you. They just get the money for free. That's how the doctor's office works. Now with that doctor's office, it's best if you never show up. So they want you to be healthy. So they're gonna be like, no, do this, be healthy, because I don't want you ever coming in. I want your money free every month. So I want you to never come in. It is in their best interest for you to be healthy. It changes the dynamic completely. You're totally correct, Daniel. And for some, if they do well enough, they will buy other things. What I mean by that is there's a system right now. Is it in Oklahoma? I forgot where it is. But anyway, you pay monthly. And if they buy, a radiation machine or whatever the case may be, if they buy an x-ray machine or whatever, you just do it there. Mm-hmm. You pay $5 to show up. That's it, $5. No matter what happens, whether you have cancer, whether you have a broken leg, you pay $5 because you're paying a monthly fee. So you show up, and whatever facilities they have, you get. If they have an OBGYN, you get that, $5. If they have a pediatrician, you get that, $5. You get whatever they have for $5, right? What you're paying monthly. But that's your point. Wow. So yes, there is a system like that.
We have a place called We the People in Sarasota that's like that. It's a family practitioner.
There we go.
And you go in and they offer all kinds of naturopathic, holistic medicines and medications for their patients. And they're more patriotic than anywhere else. They don't take insurance because insurance is where you get all the muddiness. And it was really started because of COVID. They weren't treating patients with proper medication. They were treating them with remdesivir, which we know is run, death is here, right? It was killing patients at a rapid rate. And so this woman that I know, who was a medical freedom advocate here in Florida, she was like, you know what? We need to start a We the People clinic and start giving people hydrochloroquine and giving them different medications that we know are effective at treating COVID. And so that's how it started.
There we go.
There we go. Clinic.
So Sarah, why are you where you are now? Would you ever go back? Would you go back to the medical field now that you know what you know? Is there a way to go back?
I considered for a while going back to become a certified nursing midwife.
Oh, okay.
Because midwifery, that's, a lot. It's a whole nother thing. It's very holistic, and but I couldn't bring myself to go back and get my master's. I have my bachelor's, but I didn't do it. And now, ever since I left healthcare, I've been a serial entrepreneur, more or less. But I also, a lot of my friends, my best friend I grew up with, she's a nursing manager, and they're same story, understaffed, unsupported, always on the verge of going on strike. And then her and her husband don't have any children. So 33% to 40% of her income goes right back to taxes, especially in the state of California. So
there we go. Yes.
Yeah. I don't think I could do it, sadly.
There we go.
And midwifery is that is an amazing field of nursing right there. It is. I had one with my last baby. She's 6 now, and it was like the most amazing experience. So
yeah, it's great. And
go back.
Yeah. I just still, even I live in a very small kind of mountain community, and the doctor's office here, there's like one hospital, one OBGYN area, and they have to do per diem people that rotate in from an hour away, and you can always tell they're little. So yeah, it just, demographics wise, the kind of the work environment that I've witnessed, it's just, unfortunately,
And people are leaving California, and Scott brings up here, he says, we have people leaving New York in droves for the very same reasons.
And they're all coming to Florida. Go somewhere else. We're full.
You know what? Saying that, this is the part that I bring up all the time, right? We are losing 300,000 New workers every single year, and about half of them are going to see you. Yeah, in Florida.
Stay and fight for
No,
your
wait a minute. If you're a homeowner in Florida, this is the best thing that can happen to you.
No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
Yes, your property value goes up.
No.
No. What's happening in Florida? Florida's hurting now because they could not take the massive influx of people. The infrastructure could not handle it. I mean, it's massive. Florida is exploding. They cannot take the infrastructure. They were not ready for it.
School just started yesterday. There's a state statute, it's a law that there's one teacher and you're only supposed to have like 28 students. There are teachers, classrooms that have 45 to 55 students in a classroom.
Wow.
There are kids that there's not enough desks. They're standing, they're sitting down, they're in the hallways because of the massive amounts of people that have moved here from other states. Stay in your state and fight for your freedoms in your state. So I can help you.
Now, let me bring this up for a second. People all the time say, Larry, why do I care what happens in New York? I do a lot of shows about New York. I live in New York City. I live in the belly of the beast. AOC is my congressperson.
No, Larry.
I accept your condolences. So yes, that's where I live. And people say, what? Here's the reason why you should care. To your exact point, Allie, what happens in New York affects all of you.
Yes.
All of you. It's
just like with Tesla going to Texas now.
Well, not just through migration. I mean, New York is also a financial center. I mean, there's a lot of things.
Away from that, though. No. New York, this is a problem here.
It's the city of New York.
There are three pieces here to be worried. 3 states that are a disaster: California, Illinois, New York.
Yep.
Yeah.
The problem with Illinois is they have nothing. They're just dying.
Yeah.
California has 2 things, which they're losing, but they still have: Silicon Valley and Hollywood. Right? They have those 2 things.
And the best weather of the 3 states.
California's the best one because it has those 2. However, it is leaving. You're seeing the tech sector of California go to Texas. You're seeing that happen. You're also seeing Hollywood go to Georgia and to Canada. They're leaving. The sector's going. Atlanta is killing it when it comes to Hollywood. They're going to Georgia, and so California's losing those 2. New York only has finance.
Kick them out.
And where's finance going to? It's going to Miami and Austin.
Yes.
It's going to Miami and Austin. It's leaving too. So
they're going to launch
a
new stock exchange in Texas now.
That's correct. They threatened to go to Dallas. The New York Stock Exchange threatened to go to Dallas. That is true. The New York Stock Exchange will go to Texas.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, it would be more representative. I mean, when it started, New York was the largest state, the most populated, the center of population. Now Texas is really that place, geographically, growing wise.
Yes, but my point is, help me fight or I'll make you pay with all my people coming to you.
Right.
So yes, that's my threat. Help me fight or take my people.
That's why I tell all the other countries about the Venezuela crisis. Like, you guys are not helping us get rid of Maduro. You have now the largest refugee crisis in the world. It's going to get millions more people are going to leave. And that's what's going to happen if Maduro is not overthrown.
I agree completely. Yes.
I just checked a poll about 1.5 million more Venezuelans are going to live between now and December.
Wow.
And millions more plan to live next year. It's going to be it's going to be to the level of World War I. Over 10 million people are going to have to be as refugees by next year. It's insane.
Wow.
And 2.5 million are in Colombia now. Yet the Colombian president is not helping. Like, he's actually a friend of Maduro. He's a total crook, an evil man. But you know what? He's going to have to pay for it, and I'm glad he's going to have to pay for it because he's to blame in part for what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's an issue, right? As Americans, a lot of people don't care about New York. I get it if you don't live in New York, but it's going to come to you. If you don't try to fix things, at least try to help. I mean, there's going to be problems, right? Where people move. They just do. It's how it works, right? They just pack up. New York State's lost $25 billion in revenue from the IRS that says that because of people leaving from migration. $25 billion. It is a big deal. We're in trouble. So yes, and you can't flood Florida with bodies. No. It's too many bodies. You got.
And so, Larry, I have a question for you. If they're losing that amount of money because people are leaving, how are they able to afford funding the illegal criminal aliens?
Uncle Joe is writing checks. What are you talking about? Uncle Joe got the big
to be
check
fair, To be
He's
fair,
writing
the
the check.
status now is that the state is going into the deficit because they've had for
Yes.
the past couple fiscal years all the COVID help or the stimulus money that
Yes.
Biden gave.
Uncle
But
Joe's been
that
writing
just
checks.
ran out.
That's
And,
correct.
and that's why they started to cut NYPD, trash, park service in order to pay for the housing for the illegal
Yes.
immigrants.
That is correct. But you asked, how did they pay for it? Uncle Joe wrote lots of
Yeah.
checks.
Yeah.
But Daniel's correct. Those checks are gone now. No more
Yeah.
checks from Uncle Joe. So we're in
The
trouble.
money
The
printer's
state-
down.
That's well, you
Kind
never
of.
know. They might turn it back up because they don't want to lose this election.
Right.
So Ms. Harris might decide to put the money printer back on again.
No,
She might
I
decide that.
think Jay Powell is doing what he needs to do.
Let me give you my Daniel. I'm gonna tell you what I think is gonna happen.
Yeah, do it.
Because they can't write stimmy checks. If they could, they would write stimmy checks. They totally would. But they can't now because that's too obvious, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna lower interest rates by like 1.5, like that low.
Oh, by November, no, they'll cut by
Yeah.
25 basis points.
Nope. By November, over a point. That's my call.
Okay.
We'll find out if I'm wrong.
We'll see.
My call is over a point
Okay.
by November. 1.2, 1.5, whatever. They're gonna go that high because they can't write stimmy checks. That's
Yeah.
what
I mean, but like you would need to say that like Jay Powell on the Fed board would choose that, right? Harris can't do that. So you think that they would want to help her?
Yes. Because the elites of the country still hate Trump.
Yes. The elites of
For
the
sure.
world hate Trump.
They still hate Trump. It's true. The elites of the world. The
Well,
average
my bet
Republican.
is that
average
at
Republican
most
loves
it's going to
Trump.
be 50 basis points, like 0.5. That's just they've committed already. Like it would be like a shock if they did that. It would cause actually financial like turmoil.
It's already happening. There's already turmoil.
That's true.
Look, I could be wrong. You're gonna look in 2 months. You'll come back on and tell me I'm a liar. It's fine. I don't mind. But
No,
I think
you
I'm gonna
can't be
right
a
on
liar. You could be wrong, but not a
this.
liar.
I just be wrong. Yes, you'll tell me I'm wrong. It's fine. But I think it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be over a point in the next 2 months because they can't lose this election. And if the economy's trash, Trump wins. Right? That's just if the economy's trash, Trump wins. So they can't have the economy being trash. So they'll do whatever it takes because the elites of America do not like Trump. It's true. You know it's true, right? They still don't like him. They would rather have Harris than Trump. They don't like Harris either. But if they have a choice, they can grift a whole lot better with Harris than they can with Trump.
Oh my
They
God.
can grift great with Harris. So even though she may not be there political, but when it comes to the grift, Harris is right in line with them all. She'll be right there. That's my view.
One of my colleagues, Dan Katz at the Manhattan Institute, he wrote a really interesting thing of how the Department of the Treasury is actually influencing the economy in a really unexpected way. But, the Treasury can't decide how much debt to issue because that's the budget deficit and they just get in debt. But they can decide what term of the bond to issue. They can choose 1 month bonds. They can choose 30-year bonds.
Yep.
And they have done a radical shift from long-term to short-term debt.
Because nobody wants to buy our bonds. Nobody wants to buy our bonds. That's why.
No, it's not because nobody wants. It's because if they issue a bunch of short-term bonds, they're actually pumping in a ton more interest payments into the economy, which actually artificially stimulates the economy through the debt issuance. It's actually an incredibly smart political strategy that nobody ever thought of before, I think, in the U.S., and they're doing it for the first time ever. The
So
problem
maybe
is
I'm
that
wrong.
all the bonds are going to be due right before the election in November, and then we're going to have to refinance.
You know what? Maybe I changed my mind. Maybe I knew they had to do something. They couldn't do stimmy checks. Maybe this is the way. Because there's
it's
got to be a
like
way.
Your interest payment is a form of stimulus in a way.
There we go. So that's the stimmy check. It's a different type, but there's got to be one. Okay. I will totally buy that. Let me grab a couple more comments if I could. Dave says, voting for Democrats and Republicans solves all problems. Someone stuck in a duopoly. Yes. I think that's probably accurate. Yes.
Great.
I think that's accurate. 100%. That's totally accurate. So Carly says that's right. I think she was saying this when I was talking about the frequent flyers. That's when this popped up. So I think she's talking about that. That's a real thing that a lot of people don't know about. Sarah, so good you said that. Most people never heard that before, right? They have no idea. And it's a real thing. And the problem is it's hurting so many of the people who are paying for that. In New York State, the local county pays for half of all of those Medicare, everything for half of it without getting any budget. They just have to pay for it. It crushes local economies. Just devastating. They have to pay. They can't fix their own roads because they're paying for frequent flyers. They can't pay their own roads. Yes. Absolutely.
And you wonder why your property taxes are always rising because your county commission and your school board, right? Because they can't afford it because they're paying for frequent flyers that, oh my gosh.
You know what's insane? I read this statistic that in New York City, over half of the population is on Medicaid of the non-elderly population.
That's accurate.
And I just thought about it, like this has to be fraud because no way half of the population is eligible income-wise for Medicaid. Like half of the population is below 150% of the poverty line. No way. I don't believe it.
I mean, in California, basically everybody was eligible for Medi-Cal when the lockdowns happened. And basically, if you just recertify every year, they don't care about income. They recertify you. Wow. So
yes, that's the issue. You're totally, Sarah, again, so good you're on this. Thank you. Yes, totally true. In New York, once you're on, they never take you off. And in New York, they have a rule with kids. Kids go automatically. Doesn't matter. Does not matter how much money you make.
Wow.
It's called like Healthy New York or something. That's a plan. Like you call it Medi-Cal in California. We call it something someplace else or whatever.
So the kids of rich people are automatically enrolled, and I bet they end up getting some benefits.
Automatically.
Of course.
Yes. Automatically. And they don't go away. The problem also is, remember, the goal of the government system is not to help. It is to serve.
Always.
Not to help, to serve, right? That's not the goal, to help. So the more people I help, the worse off I am because less people to serve. So I must increase the people I serve so I can get promoted, so my goal is to get more people on. So think about this. If I'm part of a nonprofit that serves people, whatever the problem is, and Daniel, you're my boss, I come to you and I say, I've helped 10 people this month. You go, that's great. Then I come back the next month. I helped 100 people. You go, that's great, but what's happening? Did anybody get off? Yeah, 10 people got off. Oh, people got off. Great. Because next month when you do a fundraiser, you're going to have to show the success stories.
Yes.
Or no one's giving you any money.
Right.
So someone has to actually be helped. You have to have success stories. Otherwise, you don't get paid. No one gives you money. But I'm a government agency now. And I come here and go, hey, Daniel, I've served 10 people. You go, great. Next month, I served 100 people. You go, great. Next month, I served 50. What happened? Well, 50 people got off. We can't have that. It's going to cut our budget. You can't get paid. What are you doing?
It's
you
backwards.
Need to serve more people.
All
so
backwards.
now what happens? I go, but these people aren't qualified. I don't care. We need more people, Larry. I go, okay. So now here comes Sarah. She doesn't qualify. I close my eyes and say yes. Here comes immigrant who doesn't qualify. I close my eyes. I check yes. New York City gives out IDs to anybody. New York City IDs. You do not have to have anything. You just get an ID. Doesn't matter. You get an ID. New York City does that. Why? So I can check that box.
Yep.
I have an ID issued by New York City. It's not a state ID. It's not a federal ID, but it is an ID. And if you're now in a system, they go check. That is how that happens, Daniel. So now that's why I got 150,000 people on a system that should have 50. Because now we can keep growing. We'll get promoted. We get more people. Everybody's happy. The goal of government is not to help. It is to serve. The more I serve, the more successful I am. The less I help.
And it's not to serve people. It's to serve their own interest. So
Correct.
you have to make sure that you specify that. Because when people are running for office and we have the grassroots candidates that like really do care about the issues and they want to solve the problems or at least help people solve their own problems, not solve them for them. We say this, being a representative is of service. You are here to serve the people.
Correct.
But you're serving them so that you're representing them so that they can serve themselves and help themselves. In this case, it's more of these government agencies that have no oversight, no accountability, are serving their own interests.
You know, when I talk to students about how socialism destroyed Venezuela, one of the things I talk about is why government-run enterprises are never as good as privately run enterprises. And it's because imagine you are in a democracy, forget you are in a dictatorship. Imagine it's a democratic country. What is the goal of a politician? Get reelected, right?
Correct.
So to get reelected, if they run the government company, they want to minimize revenue, lower prices, reduce how much they charge for their fees, whatever, and increase their costs. They hire more employees because I'm a politician who creates jobs for teachers. We need to hire more teachers, more police, more firefighters, more everything.
No.
And in the private enterprise, it's the opposite. You want to maximize profit, reduce costs, and increase revenue. And so that's why all government-run enterprises in most of the world go bankrupt.
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. So Joel says, insurance companies are making our healthcare choices.
Yes, they are.
And then Scott goes on to say, publicly traded mega healthcare insurance companies exist for their shareholders and profits, not to help the insured.
Exactly.
Yes, and that's the problem, because their customers are not the actual customer. The customers are the shareholders, not the actual people, right? And in this case, most of these healthcare insurance companies, their actual customers are often the government.
Well, to be fair, yeah, exactly. I was going to say, the purpose of every company is to maximize their own shareholder value. There's nothing special to demonize about insurance companies. That's what the restaurant in the corner does too. The problem is the misaligned incentives, right? That the government is the main customer of all the insurance companies.
Yes.
And they don't even depend on your price, especially since the Obamacare exchanges. If you're in the exchange, you don't pay more unless your income goes up. Even if they increase the premium, the government eats up the cost. And so, yeah.
The issue I have, though, is I have a philosophical issue here that I think I disagree with here.
Okay.
And this happened recently, and I think it's wrong. The question is, what are the priorities of a customer, of a company? Is it to shareholders? Is it to customers? Is it to employees? And many people say, well, it's to shareholders. I think that's the death knell of companies. If your number, and I'm a business consultant for a living, the number one issue is customers. If you focus first on customers, you will support the shareholders by default. If you focus first on customers, you can now focus second on your employees. If you focus on these two, you will by default make your shareholders happy.
Yes.
If you focus on shareholders, you will eventually screw your customers and employees over. First your employees, then your customers. And
that's how you get the DEI issue from.
Yes.
Correct. When you focus on shareholders, you will eventually screw
I would argue that the DEI thing is not about shareholders. The DEI thing
absolutely
is.
No, you are wrong, my friend. It is literally about DEI is literally about shareholders. Literally.
What do you mean? We're all, as part of our, investments, we're part of the shareholders of most companies.
No, we aren't.
100. It's not about maximizing our value that they put DEI mandates.
Let me be very clear. There's not one company who gives a shit what anybody on this thing talks about. They care about one thing. They care about what BlackRock cares about, what Vanguard cares about. That's what they care about. And BlackRock and Vanguard said, do you want me to float your debt this quarter? Great. DEI is what you'll put in today.
Yep. It's government mandated.
Yes. You will do as I say.
Government mandated racism is really what it is, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's also with parallel contracting.
They changed it. Instead of having it DEI, they're calling it IED, which I find to be quite hilarious.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
It is literally a hidden explosive of death and destruction.
Oh, they just turned it around?
Yes.
Oh, that's like what they did, a social and emotional learning.
But it's all the same. It's all the same thing. It all falls under communism, Marxism, socialism.
Yeah, they just changed the name so that we forget and we move on.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, DEI is over. Now it's social and emotional learning.
Right.
So different. Totally different. 100% different. Yes. So that's my pushback. I think companies that are successful will focus first on the customer, second on the employee, and then by default, your shareholder is taken care of.
Yeah.
Most companies that do that in the long run succeed, right? And I think that's a critical piece. If you focus on, and this is why most of the time when the Vanguards of the world buy a company, that's the end of the company. Because the company changed it. Facebook got bad when it went public.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was public, it was actually they were focusing on the customer. They went public, focused on shareholders.
It is true that privately held companies tend to do much better recently in the U.S.
Bingo. And that's because they don't focus on shareholder value. They still give shareholder value.
They do.
But the focus
issue is that it's one shareholder or a couple who are heavily involved rather than a bunch of us who we don't even have voting rights because we have ceded them to Vanguard and to BlackRock on our behalf.
Absolutely. Correct. Absolutely correct. So yes. So I thought, thank you, Scott, for making that happen. I appreciate that. Yes. Mike Voss says a lot of healthcare co-ops started after the lockdowns as doctors went private and people wanted better than mandate coverage.
Yes.
I think that's true, right? There were so many bad things about the lockdowns, but there were a couple of silver linings, right? Like this. The second thing I think is, and I think all of you agree with this, was the increase of homeschooling.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
That was a second silver lining that happened from this.
It increased, I think, about 400% over the last 3 or 4 years. It's insane how many people have decided to remote, and I don't want to say remote learn, I'll say homeschool, because remote learning is what they did during COVID. And it opened the eyes. It kind of like just revealed this veil. It lifted the veil of what we thought was really, protection of our children, our education. Our kids were fine. They're going to school. They're fine. They're coming home. They're fine. But when you're hearing, the Constitution could be suspended under emergency rule, when you're hearing them that they have to be vaccinated, they need to be triple and quadruple masked. And that, like, when I ran for school board, you guys, the disgusting things I found out about these masks and these teachers and the teachers unions and what they were doing to our students, there were kids that were snot nosed because it's Florida. Everybody has allergies, and some kids would just get sick. And there were kids that were vomiting and in the mask, and they're like, "Oh, well, you got to put the mask back on." And we're like, "What?" They're sitting on the floor, they're walking on. It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. So,
I homeschooled my daughter during that time because I was like, I'm not putting her in that prison.
Yeah, we did too. Oh, it was terrible. And then
too.
The remote learning also did. I think we're living in a time where we're so traumatized that I don't think we've realized how traumatized we are. Like, I have a child who's 16 who has anxiety, who has never had anxiety before, and it started because of COVID.
Yep.
And all of the lockdowns and all of the the remote learning and being separated from his friends and not being able to go to friend groups and football and all the sports. And they literally took down. How do you have government putting plywood over basketball hoops outside?
Yes.
In 98
they put sand in New York. They put sand in the skate parks, so you couldn't.
Yeah, I saw that. I remember.
Yes, that was crazy.
Power is addictive, obviously, and some people love to exercise power just because they want to show they can exercise it.
Well, there's a quote, and I can't remember who says it, but it's absolute power corrupts absolutely, and it is absolutely correct. So,
yes,
I'm gonna
exercise some of my absolute power, and I'm gonna ask everybody here to like the damn show. Click the like button. I'm exercising my power. If you're watching right now, if you're watching right now, click the like button, right? If you're telling me, Larry, I don't want to click the like button, I'm going to take that as you hate me. That's how I'm going to take it. So don't hate me. Click the like button right now if you're watching. If you like what you're hearing, you're obviously listening and watching to it. So please click the like button. It does matter. Also, if you're watching on Twitter or X, retweet this, repost this. Do it right now if you're watching that way. If you want to support the channel, you can. You can do it by subscribing. Subscribe on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, click the notification button, all those things. Do the things. Larry, should I do them? Yes, you should. And if you haven't, it's because you're mean. So don't be mean. Please do it. It does matter. If you really want to help, you can always super chat if you want to. Your chat goes to the front. Or if you want to become a member, you can. $49 per month is nothing. All the cool content I put out, are you kidding me? That's cheap. $5 a month, you can get me doing more than this. And I can stop working and doing this stuff, and I can do this instead. See, all that's good.
And you can afford it because your nails are done and you're carrying your new Michael Kors bag. And
that's how I know you can afford it, because your nails are done. So I know you can afford it. Don't lie to me. I know that.
You give your money to that crazy coffee shop that puts your money towards other things that don't support America. You can afford it.
You don't need the bucks of Star. You don't need them. You don't need the bucks of Star. You can give me that $5. You can. Absolutely. But more, no matter what, please follow these wonderful people who are giving us their time. If you would follow them on X or some of them on Facebook, Twitter, you can see all their data is actually on the Facebook page and also on the YouTube page. Check it out. Follow them. See what they're doing. They're giving us so much time. I appreciate all that time they're giving us. So I just wanted to do my little commercial, if I could. Then you want to say something? Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I wanted to say this because of what Ali brought up about the schools during COVID. I speak at high schools, and I have an organization, the Dissident Project, where we send immigrants who came from totalitarian countries to speak at high school to tell our stories at no cost. So we have people from, and this was inspired actually by a law in Florida, the law that forces or asks schools to teach about the evils of communism. And so I came from Venezuela. We have people from Cuba, from North Korea, from China, from Russia, from Iran, Zimbabwe, Eritrea, everywhere around the world. And I went to a high school in North Carolina last academic year, Burlington, North Carolina. Okay, so this is not a liberal area. This is a small city that overwhelmingly very red. And one of the Spanish teacher classrooms had a very, very large poster of Che Guevara in the classroom.
Wow.
Che Guevara. This was not a Latin American teacher, by the way. He was like from here. And that's what they teach the kids here in the public schools. And so
wow.
I was able to, talk about that to the kids about socialism. So I felt very good about my presence there. But I felt that this country was being destroyed from the inside too.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's
let
done
me post that. It is dissidentproject.org if you want to check out what he's doing there. Dissidentproject.org.
Yeah, especially teachers or parents, you can bring us to your high schools at no cost.
That's amazing.
There we go.
Daniel. I like that you're doing that. Well, because, our education system has completely failed our students. And it's been a failing system since its inception, to be honest with you. And this is why there are so many different educational models that are coming out now where you're, there's so many different ones. We're going back to classical education, which is important, right? It teaches children how to think for themselves, how to, problem solve on their own, how to have actual conversations with each other, how to build and debate with one another, how to use their hands and to get dirty a little bit. And it's awesome to see that spark happen, because if you educate a child, so goes the soul of the nation. And currently we have about 83%, and that's the demographic. The demographic is our Black Americans. 83% of our Black American fourth graders cannot read on level. But these are from the same teachers unions that are like, oh, but we care about the disenfranchised. We care about the low-income families. No, you don't. Because if you did, you would understand that if you can't read by the fourth grade, you have a 400% chance to live and stay in poverty.
Yep. Absolutely true. It drives me crazy that our mayor last year, I'm not joking, said, we're going to start teaching our kids to read. I'm not joking. He literally goes, we're going to go to phonics. I'm like, phonics was out when I was a kid.
Right.
What
it
are you
should never gone away.
Yes.
This is what happens, Larry. This is what happens. We have philanthropists.
What were you doing before?
Gates giving you money.
Hold on 1 second. I asked the question, what were you doing before this in school? So now, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ali, go ahead.
No, I'm so sorry I cut you off. You got me excited. This is my topic.
Please go.
This is what happens when you allow philanthropists and third parties to come into your school systems, like the Bill and Melinda Foundation, the Gates Foundation. They gave a lot of money to a lot of the schools to implement these programs that have never been tested on the population. Right. So they're using our children's education as guinea pigs. And without parental consent. And then you have teachers unions that are like, no, parents don't own their children. They belong to the schools. They belong to us. What? No, we don't. And now,
they belong to all of us, the community.
And
now they don't. Just like my house doesn't belong to the community. This is not Cuba.
Exactly. And now the parents are labeled domestic terrorists because they're going down to school boards and they're blowing the whistle on the corrupt curriculum that they see, the curriculum that's not teaching their students. We have seniors that are graduating and can't read or write on level. As a senior, every single senior, I think in Florida, has a remedial reading class.
Yep.
They have it all throughout high school because none of them can read. And guess who?
Well, look, but I like the communal thing because I want to own Sarah's dogs. So we're going to be communal because I want her dogs. So
I rescue dogs. I can get you plenty anytime.
Yeah, come down and I'm gonna be communist. Take your dogs.
And one last thing I'll say on the school issue is that, so Florida, for example, we have a trifecta, right? We have a Republican governor, Republican Senate, Republican House. Yet out of 67 of our school boards, I believe half of them, or maybe more than half of them, are run by communist liberal teachers unions.
Yep.
And you wonder why
they're actually communists. I don't know. Yes. And I know this sounds like, oh, you're insulting. The Chicago teachers unions sends almost every year a delegation to Venezuela to meet with the Venezuelan regime. Okay. And they post it on their own social media. These are not good people. Venezuela is a legal tyranny that kills its population.
No. In New York City, we have members. Again, I'll go back to where I live. My city rep, my state rep, and my federal rep are all members of the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America.
Socialists of
all
America.
Three.
We have
proud
two
members
on that, and then
I have all three of mine.
They met with Cuban terrorists in Tampa.
Which school board, Ali?
I'm in Hillsborough County, Tampa, Florida.
But they are DSA members.
Yes.
In Florida. Wow.
Yes.
You have to tell the Cuban community.
Proud. I'm a Democrat socialist, like so proud.
Wow. Democrats need to wake up. I think Democrats need to wake up. And I've said this a lot. I know, Republicans love to use this talking point, I think, because it makes the Democrats look less popular and them to win elections. Like, look, they're a socialist. But for the good of this country, we need a Democratic Party that is not a socialist party. Because Democrats are going to be in power about half of the time that we live in this place. So we might as well not have socialists when it's Democrats.
I completely agree, but anyone who doesn't do that gets removed, right? You look at someone like Tulsi Gabbard as an example, who was a Democrat, and she was like, but I don't want to be a nutty Democrat. Well, you're gone then. RFK Jr., I don't want to be a Democrat. You're gone then, right? Anyone who does what you say, Daniel, who says, I want to be a Democrat, but I don't want to be a nutty Democrat, gone. Get out. You can't be with us anymore. I got to say this. Joe Rogan used to be a Democrat. Right. When I was on his show in 2018, I literally insulted him and called him a Democrat to his face. You can go check it out. I did, because he was all for teachers unions. And I was like, no, he used to support Bernie.
Yeah.
Now he's not, because he wasn't a crazy Democrat. So he's got to go. Elon Musk was a Democrat.
Trump was a Democrat.
Trump was a Democrat. Yes.
Wait, Ronald Reagan was a Democrat too.
We're kind of liberal here. So.
Yes.
But I was a fiscal conservative and a social democrat, California. Right. But that's, especially like I said, in California, you can't do it. It doesn't exist anymore. It's either you're a cuckoo progressive, or you're far right. There's no.
Yes. Daniel, you're right. We need a better Democratic Party. Yeah, we definitely do. I completely agree. We need a better one.
Especially one that won't, completely disenfranchise their entire voter base and select a vice president candidate and select a presidential candidate without votes.
Okay, look, you just got to understand some, Allie. If you want to save democracy, you must destroy it first. God, don't you know how that works?
I'm just excited it's happening. I'm excited it's happening.
It's happening finally. We're going to finally save democracy by destroying it. Exactly. Yes.
They say the opposite, and it's hilarious. I laugh at this
100%.
point.
We should never want democracy anyway. A constitutional republic is what we are, but the whole
also true.
Save democracy. I'm like, do we really want to save democracy as it's being defined right now? I don't know about that, but.
Patty says, here CPS, which is Child Protective Services, kidnaps your kids if you do not comply with certain rules and regulations. The government, thinks you should follow. Yes, sometimes needed, but I'm seeing taken when not needed more and more. And this goes back to financial incentives. Yes. The state gets money for taking kids.
Yes, they do.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Yes. Oh, that's why they do it. The state also gets money, most people don't know this, gets money for child support. Which is why the family court system is now a profit center.
Yes,
they want you to get divorced. They want you must pay child support through the state.
Yep.
So if I have child support and I give it, Sarah's my baby mama. I just insulted you, Sarah. Sorry. She's my baby mama. and I write her a check. But Allie's my other baby mama, and I go through the state. If I go through the state, I'm safe with Allie, but Sarah, I got problems. They will not count the check I give Sarah. Even if Sarah says, no, here's a check, I got it, and I cast it, the state will say, no, that does not count. Because
and you can be arrested. You can be arrested and go to jail.
I'll go to jail.
Like, the system is crazy. Our system is so corrupt on so many different levels. It is absolutely insane. It is insane. I mean,
and I almost got two baby mamas. I don't know how that happened.
What are we talking here? Because
there we go. Sarah's like, I might be okay with this. Hold on, how much? There we go. Okay with this. So yes, that's good.
No,
then you didn't know that it's a racket. It is the government is incentivized to take your children and to break up your family. It is literally incentivized to do so. So it does.
Just like they're incentivizing the cartels to run our border. And I believe it's over 400,000 women and children have come over the border through the cartels, and they're raped and they're human trafficked and they're, organ harvested. Like, it's insane what's going on right now, Miss Borders are Harris.
I had the chance to interview and talk with many of the migrants living in the shelters here in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
For the work I do for the Manhattan Institute, which is focused on immigration. And I've asked them and all of that. They say that actually the worst part of coming to America is actually the Mexican police. It's not even the cartels. The Mexican police is much worse than the drug cartels. They extort the migrants. The Mexican government profits from the migrant crisis. They charge each of them to cross. There was a point last year where they had to close one of the ports of entry between the U.S. and Mexico because Border Patrol in the U.S. side discovered that the Mexican Border Patrol on the Mexican side was the one arranging the people to cross.
Yes.
Wow.
Because we have weak leadership.
In fact, the cartels, if anything, actually respond more to incentives than the Mexican government.
That's true. Yes.
It's true.
Absolutely. That's funny. Michael Voss says, Ali, this is at you. He says, New York is $12 billion in debt, increasing by $2 billion a year by illegal aliens. To be forward, he means specifically by the migrants, right? New York State's actually about $400 billion in debt total. It's heavily in debt, but it's an additional $12 billion just from the migrants that are coming. So yes, he's correct.
Yeah. And think about it. This $2 billion that we're talking about a year on average is only New York City because of the right to shelter policy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. By $2 billion by 8 million residents. We're talking about what? Hundreds of dollars, over $1,000. Yeah, well over per person, per resident of New York City. And all of it is coming from state and local money. That is insane.
Yes.
That is insane. We could give everybody a tax cut of over $1,000 a year.
I would like to have extra.
But you know what? You know what? They wouldn't give a tax cut. They would also keep that money.
They would keep it.
Yeah, something else, to be fair.
They keep it and give it to the mafia that feeds their politicians' pockets.
You know who profits from all of this? The hotel industry. People don't
100%.
talk about how the hotel industry is actually the one in the bag of like the has the New York
I
City
actually did a show on this for my radio show, and I call it the migrant industrial complex.
Yeah. I like it.
Yes.
I like it.
It's the migrant industrial complex. But not just hotels, Daniel. Also, any building that is actually unoccupied.
Right.
Because what happens is
that would be local government then.
Well, what happens is any business unoccupied, like say you're not occupied, your rent's too high, the store's gone. The migrants come in and pay the landlord a fee, and it's under the table, but they stay there. And the problem is now once they're there X amount of time, well, now they have squatters' rights.
Right. Yeah.
So they can't even be removed. So now many of these landlords who own like 1,000 or 2,000 units, they literally have thugs who can throw you out. They will come in and literally just throw you out. They have thugs who do this work, right? Or they'll have a construction come in and make life so miserable that you want to leave.
Well, hey, I support enforcing property rights.
No, hold on, but this is why they do it. They are doing it. Here's what's happening is, so now the migrants don't have to leave because of government, but they still pay.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So that's how they win. Because the landlord says, look, just throw me X $1,000 a month. You can all stay as long as you want. I can't rent this place anyway. Just throw me X $1,000 a month and I won't have my boys show up. And his boys don't show up and they pay and the city can't throw them out. They have squatters' rights. That's part of the migrant industrial complex. That's all part of the complex.
And I say living conditions and there's they don't have to adhere to building codes or health and safety or anything. And I mean, they don't even have to have working plumbing, anything like that. Nope. They can be over occupied. And that's where all these, then you get the gang on gang violence and it's.
Yeah. What's happening with the gang,
Sarah, you get this.
One of my concerns with the shelter system itself is that you put all these people together. Families go in the hotels mostly, and then in the shelters that they built is the single men and single women, but mostly single men. What happens if you put a bunch of young single men in the same place that are in a vulnerable group that need money, that don't have a job? What happens? Crime, gangs get built. And that's why we're getting these gangs, because of this misguided policy that no commonsensical person thought, oh, maybe it's a bad idea to put in a poor area a bunch of young men together in the same building.
No, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. They don't want to exclude anybody. That's what it is. That's why they're doing it. But I kind of want to bring this a little full circle, because this is the reason. The reason why we're seeing this is because we don't have enough of the educated voters, right, to go out and advocate for themselves to say, look, no, we do not like this policy. No, this policy hurts our family. It hurts our communities. We need to make a stand and say, absolutely not. We are going to remove you from office, and we will put this other person in office. That is the kind of stuff that I teach working with Moms for America. I'm director of civic engagement over there. I can teach you how to do it. I'm always in Tallahassee. I'm always in DC. I speak to parents and people across the nation, teaching them how to do this, because if you don't understand the proper roles and responsibilities of those that are elected to, that you hire to serve you, you hire them to represent you, meaning they are supposed to create policy that betters your life.
Yes.
They stay out of your life, but they make it better, right? That's what the point is. And what they're doing is they're not representing you. They're representing corporate interests. They're representing their own interests. They're representing lobbyist interests. They're not doing it for the best of the people that they're supposed to.
Are you with Moms for America or Moms for Liberty?
Moms for America.
Moms for America. You know, I spoke with Moms for America.
She's with everything. Don't say that. She's with everything.
No, I asked. It's two different organizations, but Moms for America was one of my first ever speaking engagements in Rochester. Debbie Crowd-Dealis, you know Debbie, right? Back in 2020, right before the pandemic. I love all of you, what you guys do.
No, I mean, and I'm also national coordinator, ops coordinator for Operation Free Nation, which does the same thing, but it's more veteran geared. We want our veterans to understand that just because you're no longer in service doesn't mean that your oath expired. You still have combat boots, put them on, strap them up, and go fight for your rights the way that you know how, because we currently have a VA system that does not represent veterans at all in any capacity. Correct. So we need to advocate for our rights too, because what do we have? We have like maybe 12 representatives sitting in Congress right now that are advocating for veterans' rights, or anyone's rights really, or constitutional rights.
And they just put Tulsi Gabbard on the watch list.
I'm saying we're all on watch lists right now, Larry.
Yes, we're all on watch lists.
Venezuelan regime watch.
I think I have my own FBI agent, you guys. Like, this is crazy.
I do too.
Crazy times.
Phil, don't take us seriously, Phil. We're just kidding, okay? We're just kidding. Don't take us seriously. That's my agent. I talked to him. His name's Phil. So it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yes. But yes, guys, if you want to follow Moms for America, head on over to Twitter. Check out Moms for America. There's a link tree there. You can check out all the stuff they're doing. Feel free. As I said, Allie's with everything, so it doesn't matter. She's on everything, so you'll figure it out just by going there.
We're actually going to DC on the 31st with, I believe it's over 94 different organizations. It's called March for Kids. And we're there to essentially advocate for our children. No, they do not belong to the state. No, they do not belong to the federal government. No, you cannot sexualize them. No, none of all of the bad things. We want our children to be ours. And
I want to bring up something important here. New York State has made a terrible, and other states have too.
Yeah.
And they don't realize why this is bad. And the problem is, what they've actually done is they've made a right for children. And what I mean by that is, they've made education a right in New York State. Education is a right.
Okay.
There's a problem with that. Rights are for adults. But now they made a right for a minor. When that happens, what does that mean? The state owns your children.
Yes.
That is how they make the state own your children, by putting in the Constitution and making it a right. Rights don't count for kids. Kids don't have the right to bear arms. Kids don't have the right to free speech. They don't have that. They don't have that. Adults do. But once they say education is a right, now they own your children. That's how they can own your children, by saying educate. You're not educating effectively.
It's a right for children. Therefore, if they identify as another gender, they have a right to what they call gender affirming care.
Bingo, Daniel.
That's what you never want to make rights for children.
Right. And then they can lower the age. Right. Then they can lower the age of consent and allow the minor attracted persons, which, guys, it's a pedophile. And that's what the plus means at the LGBTQ plus. That's what that encompasses, pedophilia. Then they're allowed to sexualize your kids in ways that you have never imagined.
So that's a big deal. For those who think, well, Larry, what's wrong with making something a right? If you make something a right, That is not innate. That is relied upon someone's service. If you do that, then what you do is you don't make it easier. You just make it more expensive.
Yes.
That's all you do. Every time you make a right that is based upon someone's service, you just made that thing more expensive.
Which
make
is why
education right, more expensive.
If you actually read your Constitution, it
Don't
says
do
that we have
read.
natural, God-given rights. Period.
We can't
Natural
read though,
rights.
Allie, so we can't do that. We can't read.
I know. Well, no. It is
So-
what it is. Then we
You're
have all
asking
kinds of
too
programs
much.
where we got people like us that are able to have, we can read all that. There's Constitution classes. We do, a Liberty Kids class, a Moms for America. Go figure it out. momsforamerica.us. You can sign up, teach your kids the Constitution. It's great. It's great.
There we go. Legacy Zach, he's talking about the government. He goes, job security is always key. He is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, he is absolutely correct. That is a big deal, right? That is a big deal. So, yeah. All right. Dave says, government disincentivizes people getting up public assistance.
Yes, they do.
Yes, 100% true. Yes. MG says, Larry, you're the man. MG is correct.
I agree.
That is an accurate statement. Yes,
I
he is
second
correct.
that statement.
Yes. Mike Voss from No Soundbites Live says, homeschooling is the consequences of learning what indoctrination was happening. I think a lot of that's true because a lot of parents didn't know what was happening in school until the lockdowns. And to your point, Ali, there was that distance learning, right? That remote learning. And then parents looked and said, you're learning that?
Right.
What?
Yeah.
What did the teacher just say? What
And then
happened?
they went back to school and you had teachers putting condoms on bananas. What's happening? And over 300 books that had porn in them. But, we're book banners.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
And
There we
remember
go.
when they had
Put it
to
on TV.
censor the parents who were reading the said book
Exactly.
Yes.
in the school board meeting?
Exactly.
If it has to be censored,
Yes.
It's not for the
Absolutely. Gene says, my husband put you on YouTube on the TV. There's still hope for him. Yes, slowly but surely we are changing the
That's
world.
awesome.
Slowly but surely we are doing it. Yes. Rick says, the real far left owns our institutions, education chief among them.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
I think
And
it is.
And I worry about that because we should, I know we don't, but we should trust our institutions.
Yes.
But they've given us so many reasons to not trust them in all different ways. And the problem is it begins to go across everything. In other words, now I don't trust, now I don't trust the cops.
Right.
Now I don't trust the judges. Now I don't trust the school board. Now I don't trust anything because I see this thing. I begin to distrust everything. And here's my issue, Sarah, and I'm gonna ask you about this. Sarah, I'm worried that people don't trust medicine at all.
They would be right.
But there are people who are giving us goods. There are
There
right
are.
and good things. But now what if I don't trust any of it? Isn't
Well,
that a worry?
That is a worry. And it's just, again, with it, anything that has federal oversight, going back to the education thing, first thing that needs to happen to regain the trust, get rid of Department of Education.
Yes. Yes.
First thing that we need to do with healthcare, NIH,
Goodbye.
nothing, gotta get out
First,
there.
we need to have Nuremberg Trials 2.0, you guys. And
Right.
then we need to revamp everything. Just saying.
So it's like, it's the trickle down effect. Get rid of the federal level, the money, just again, as cliche as it sounds, why are we one of, I forget what other, is it New Zealand? I can't remember, but the only country that allows
Yes.
advertisement from pharma, and just not letting any pharmaceutical interests in lobbying,
That part.
any of that.
Did you know that it's the pharmaceutical company, the oil and gas, and there's one more. I believe it's military that lobby the most. They give the most money to Congress. And what they do when they lobby is they're lobbying for special privileges. They're not lobbying for anything like that's beneficial to
you
anyone
would
else.
be shocked at how many congressional staffers go on foreign vacations paid for by the governments of other countries.
Oh yeah.
They do it through nonprofits. That's actually much more meaningful than any domestic lobbying, because what is a domestic lobbying? They take you to dinner, they're not taking you on a flight to Dubai. Okay, that's much more cool than the other thing, and it happens.
Right. It
does. But
I mean, we got to get rid of that. That's got to go. The lobbyists. We, the American people are the biggest lobbyists, and if we're not doing our job, then everyone else is there. This is how we get to where we are.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sarah. You had something to say. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just the basic, the federal and the federal regulatory agencies. That's why I think that the Right to Try Act is going to be. Hopefully that'll be such a landmark if it can pass and set a precedent, because one of the big things in healthcare that everybody's afraid of is malpractice and red tape, not even to mention the pharmaceutical company hold on everything. But, I don't want to do this or try this and get in trouble, especially after everybody was losing their licenses and getting whistleblown for prescribing ivermectin. And I mean, I have a very long personal history with family members and friends and cancer, and just here's chemo and here's cancer treatment drugs, and not letting any alternative medication or any alternative therapies or holistic therapies. And so, of course, when you're watching someone die and you can't intervene, you can't get coverage for it, or you have healthcare for, I'm not touching that. I'm not going to do this. This trial hasn't gone through. Well, how about the trials for, the vaccines? How did those? Yeah, they didn't exist. But anyway,
we are the trial.
Will you just trust the science, Sarah? Just trust the science.
Right.
People don't get it. God.
That's the thing.
Science that we bought and paid for by the scientists. We're doing the science.
Yeah. Know you.
And so I just
can't believe you guys.
The regulations, and then the money coming in, the lack of support. I don't blame people for not trusting the healthcare industry, but you got to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, that's my worry, is that it goes to a point where we don't trust anything, right? No. And don't get me wrong, they have given us reason to. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but this is the part that people say, how do you fix it? And here's what I say. I feel like the answer is blatant, open transparency for decades.
That part.
Just transparency for decades. If you were just open with everything for 2 decades, I'm making that time up. Maybe it's a decade, I don't know, but years. Wide open transparency. I think the American people could trust again.
Well,
but they'd have to see the bad and the good and see everything and go and see it all. I think after time, Americans could trust again.
We can handle it.
We need that and accountability.
Yes.
You can't have transparency without accountability.
Yeah.
And when you start, this is what happens with communists too, communism. And you look at I think it's the 97 or 47 different rules of communism that was submitted in the congressional record in 1960, whatever it was, or 70 something. I don't remember. Anyway, my point is that when you completely distrust all of your agencies and all of your industries, then big government is able to come in and say, here, trust me, I have the solution. And when you have government that says, I have the solution, you need to run.
Exactly.
Well, this is human nature, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wanted to say, to have accountability, you need to have choice so that people can leave and go elsewhere. Yes. I think that's really at the crux of the issue, because, for example, I'm covered by the Columbia University health insurance. So that's how I get my primary health provider. That's why I keep it and I use it. The problem is that I need to go there to their medical office every time I need anything. Right. And I remember in the last visit, I just wanted to do an annual checkup. The nurse practitioner asked me how I identify. First time, I had already gone before. I wasn't going to get in a political discussion, so I just laughed. And I just asked, what do you think? I think we have to mock this. I think that's how we socially, kind of destroy it. But
I would have said, I identify as a billionaire. That's what I would have said. I identify as a billionaire, so bow down to me, please. That's what I said.
The solution to this is that I would be able to choose to go elsewhere. And I am not, because I'm tied to my employer. Right? Yes. And institution. And we need to give people choice to move, just like we need to give people choice to move between schools. Yes. We need to give people choice to move between doctors. And that requires getting the government out of this thing.
Let me touch that piece now. Jean says, I have health insurance through the state. Now we can get health insurance through my husband's employer. I haven't been able to find out how to get off the government-funded health insurance. This is your point, Daniel.
Wow.
She's still on.
Yeah.
She's still on. They never come off. She's still on. And she's saying, I want to get off. They don't make it easy to get off.
Now, to be fair, she can be on both. And if it doesn't cost her anything, why not?
I mean,
I agree, but that's the
veterans,
point.
right? It's veterans. Veterans are like that. A lot of us have our government healthcare, our VA healthcare, and we also have private insurance through our employer if we choose to. You have that option. And sometimes the VA doctor that you see is really good, and sometimes they really are not. And you'd rather go see the guy down the street.
Absolutely. Instant Defense says Americans don't read.
Facts. Everything is on like
true.
4th grade or 3rd grade level.
People worldwide don't read. Don't worry about it.
That's good.
I think people give too much of a hard time to Americans when they don't see what happens outside the world. Nobody reads. Like the whole world is uneducated.
Yes.
Well, since all of this, it's
Dave says, is the DSA having a split over Hamas? I think that is true. There's a bit of a fight inside. I think that is a little bit of a fight inside. There is some, but it's not big enough. But I think there is a bit of a fight within those two. I think there is. That's true. Wow. So yes. Rick Reynolds, who is a member, by the way, so you can become one if you want to. You can just click on that YouTube, join, you can become one. He says the extreme of the far left owns our institutions, right? He says the people who teach the teachers are often Marxist or Marxist-Leninists.
Which is go to Columbia Teachers College here, where I'm doing my PhD in econ. The Columbia Teachers College is a Marxist organization.
There we go. Yes, yeah. I think it's true. Now, Sarah, you said you used to be kind of left. And then you worked in a system. This is funny. Some of you may not know, some of you may know who Thomas Sowell is.
Yes.
Yeah. Thomas Sowell has a similar story.
Here's his book.
Here we go. Yes. Thomas Sowell is used to be a Marxist. Then he met Milton Friedman. They talked. He was still a Marxist.
Yeah.
But then he went and worked for the Department of Labor, the government.
There you go.
And then he said, oh my God, everything Milton Friedman said is true. I am a libertarian. And the funny part is you might go, well, he's a Marxist. Is he crazy? No, he's one of the smartest men on the planet. Thomas Sowell's one of the smartest men on the planet. I'm not making that up. He is insanely smart. Why would he be a Marxist? Because with the information that he had and the experience that he had, that made the most sense to him to make the best outcome for humans. That's what he had. When he got new information and new experience, he changed his mind. So then he said, oh, no, I'm wrong. Libertarianism is the right answer. So I think that we have a chance if the people actually want the change. I don't know if they want the change. They may just want the power.
Well, here's something that may give you a little hope.
Okay.
So again, California. And keep in mind, when I was in college, first, thing that keeps you on the left, right? In California, Bay Area. When I was living in San Francisco, it was under Newscomb, Kamala, right? We had London Breed was just up. I mean, it was I was there for the whole shebang, right?
Oh, wow.
But now, so where I live, I'm still in California, but I'm technically in a blue city in a red county in a blue state.
Yeah.
Well, our District 4, our senator just switched and went Republican. This is the first time this has happened since 1995 in California.
Wow.
And she's not up for re-election until 2026. And so she did show the polling of her constituents. And right now, the polling in the county or in her district is 39% Republican, 34% Democrat. But I mean, for a senator in California to switch their party, midterm,
it's unheard of.
Yeah. So
That's
I mean, because she said I'm directly representing my constituent. Of course, the media. Nobody wants to talk about it. That's why a lot of people haven't heard about it.
Of course.
Because of
she is now evil.
Yeah.
Because she's a traitor. She's a traitor.
Number one.
She is part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. She is terrible. We must get rid of her. We have to get rid of her now. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But there is, if that can happen here, even though it is like the most, it's got like Stockton and, El Dorado County and Central Valley, which is a lot of it is very red. But regardless, I mean, but you don't hear about it. because they don't want
Wow.
to tell you.
I
That.
didn't know about it until now, so thank you. I'll look this up.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago, right before the fraudulent election in Venezuela, where I'm from, there was a video that became very viral in Venezuela of a lady saying that she used to support the Venezuelan socialist regime. Because a lot of people did. I mean, remember, this is really the only socialist nation that became socialist democratically, as Venezuela did, not anymore democratically, but it used to be. And she said, crying tears, that I belong. She's saying, I belong to a trash organization, and I ruined my grandchildren's future, who now have no future in our country. That's what she said, to tears. And I thought to myself, wow, I totally forgive her, and I would love to give her a hug.
Yes.
But you know what? I think it may be too late. I may forgive her, but it's not whether I forgive her who decides that Venezuela is a free country again. It's just too late for us to democratically get them out. And so the question is whether people will find out that they are right or wrong too late or early.
You know, you have brought up a very important question. It's one of the reasons why I've been mad at some libertarians. Because a lot of libertarians, I don't know if you're all libertarian, but I'm an open, obvious libertarian.
Yeah.
And I'm all about it. And I've wanted to bring more people into the fold. And some libertarians are really assholes. I'm just being forward. Some really are. Some are. Not all, obviously, all right? But some really are. So, and I'll give you a good example. This is years ago, probably almost 10 years ago, maybe. And I'm going to one of my first events, actual libertarian events. And I go there, and a young guy comes in, probably 18, 19 years old. He shows up, he goes, hey, I found libertarian. He says, that's great. Hey, I'm so happy to see you. It found like it's on a meetup or whatever it was, right? So we're all talking. He goes, you guys don't hate NASA, do you? And I thought, oh. And I thought, okay, that's fine, whatever. And he got assaulted on why NASA's bad and why the private sector does a better answer, and is insulted like he was stupid. I thought to myself, why did we do that? He never came back.
Yeah.
What we should have said, you know what? Why did you come? Well, I came, whatever. I hate taxes or whatever. It's about taxes. We can talk about NASA later. Talk about taxes. Let's have a conversation about taxes. You came for taxes, talk about taxes. Or I care about gun rights. Great, talk about gun rights, whatever. Meet him where he is, have a conversation, bring him in. We don't do that. Well, I do that like there's no tomorrow. A lot of people don't do it. Thank you. We need more like that, because here's the problem. Your point is, Daniel, you said the right thing. You said, I want to hug her. But there's a lot of people who would say, look at what you did. You're terrible. I hate you. Look at how bad you're so.
Yeah. And I don't, because she sincerely repented.
But hold on.
And I believe in forgiveness.
No, I get it. But my point being, many people won't do that. And because they won't do that,
that's true.
People have no place to go. So they're stuck being there. They can't leave their cult because they have no one to go to.
Right.
If we were more like you, Daniel, and we were more like, hey, when you get that it's broken, come, I'm here. Don't worry, just come. Come anywhere you want. Come whenever you can. Just come. More people would. But if I believe the second I turn, my own people turn on me, you turn on me, I'm all by myself, I'm not turning.
Right.
I'll just stay.
That's why I try for more right-leaning people. Like if you ran into me on the street, you'd be like, she's probably a liberal, right? I mean, I don't look conservative necessarily, right?
I have friends like that too, all tatted up, different color hair, and they're like.
But the thing, it's like, and now people are gonna they're gonna have to start accepting there's a new right, there's a new libertarian, and libertarians out. We're kind of like, I hate to say it, weird, socially awkward loner people a little bit. That's kind of why we like, I'm just saying, we like our guns and we like our privacy and whatever. But, but yeah, I 100% agree. And that's where I will go in any space and I'll be like, look, why do you think they call MAGA a cult? Why do you think? Because anytime anybody comes in and they're like towing the line or testing the waters, where you could take an opportunity to educate and welcome someone in, you're feeling politically homeless here. It's vilifying and making them feel bad. And, oh, you voted. Hey, if anybody's like on the fence, I will be the first one to be like, exactly like you said, where can I meet you halfway?
Right.
Yes.
What's drawing you in? What's pushing you away where we can meet and have a conversation?
You have to be able to meet people where they are in order to have these conversations.
100%.
I mean, that was a big conversation at the RNC, right? Where you had Amber Rose. She got on the stage. She got a primetime
I
spot.
remember.
And there were some like very staunch, like very Christian, very conservative, was like, she should not have had a spot. And I'm like, she's a walk away. What do you want? Like,
Yes.
And like it or not, she
Open
has
your
like
arms.
millions of
bring younger
followers.
people into the fold and tell them that there's a better option than the crazy socialist left over there. Like, let her have the spot. And she wasn't there for you guys. She wasn't there for the base. She was there for her fans and her followers, because the people that she influences, they have all turned and they're like, we want to follow Amber Rose.
Though, to be fair, you can have a walkaway who is not an OnlyFans star.
Why
I
not?
think that was the issue of social conservatives, because I feel I'm in that boat where I would
There are
say
different kinds of
have a
conservatism.
walk away, have a rapper, whatever you want to have, but not somebody who is actively promoting something.
Daniel, being conservative and being Christian are not synonymous.
That's right.
They're not synonymous. You can be a fiscal conservative and still be socially liberal. It's her. I mean,
but I would argue that the
woman.
Republican
She
Party
does.
definitely stands for at least some level of social conservatism.
Now the Republican Party, but the conservatives,
But that's the RNC.
right?
And this is the problem
Okay.
that I have.
Whenever the RNC comes to town, Grindr explodes.
100%,
I'm not joking. That's facts.
100%.
Let's see.
Yes, that's facts. I'm not making that up. When the RNC comes to town, Grindr explodes.
That's why
So
Congress
I
has
don't
a
want to
first
hear
anytime.
how socially conservative the RNC is.
They're not.
Well, I'm
hear
not
that.
saying it is. That's the point. The point is that it is not really representing the values of the voters.
But
They're
that's
trying to
why
get
the
all
thing,
the
though.
voters, though.
Well,
I mean,
perhaps it is, or perhaps it is, and that's my issue that I have with them.
Maybe that's it. Maybe
Morality
that's
is not
Maybe
on the
that's
ballot.
it.
It's policy.
That's right.
Policy is on the ballot. Our open border is on the ballot. Our education system is on the ballot. Our inflation is on the ballot. Our national
it.
security
Grindr is not on the ballot. Grindr is not on the ballot.
That's why the
Grindr
approach
and
for
OnlyFans, I could care less what
Yeah.
the hell you do in your bedroom. Just don't push it on
Not
my
on the
children
ballot.
and don't throw it in my face.
and that's
There
why
we go.
attacking Kamala for her,
Sexual
loose
escapades,
past. That's
her hard work and her hands and her knees. It is what it is.
Oh,
But
well,
that's-
they shouldn't because Trump is not a saint in that regard either.
Nobody is. And that's
Yeah.
the point.
I mean, no, to be fair,
Nobody's the same. Everybody has
Mitt
skeletons in
Romney
their
was
closet.
like the most saint candidate you could have had on the ballot.
Who?
And he was so boring, he lost to Obama. Yes, that
And
is
he
correct.
lost, and he
You
lost,
are right.
you're right.
And
Because
he was so
wasn't
boring, he
for
lost to Obama.
Yeah.
Correct. Let me grab a super chat real fast. Thank you so much, Instant Defense. $20. Lebanon, Hanover, Schwarzenegger tears. I'm not sure what that means. We know what that means?
I mean, he was our governor
Governor?
for what?
California.
I like him for the
Like,
bodybuilding. I'm a fan. I like Arnold Schwarzenegger. The movies too.
The movies are great. I
movies are great.
love his movies. I do love his movies.
Politician, just
But
saying.
he was crying. When there was something that he said that now it wasn't like 20 years later he like felt bad about it. There was something going on with that. I don't remember what it was, but
Yeah. No. He literally said, F your freedoms when
Oh.
it came to the regime.
right.
The jab regime.
Yeah,
When
no.
it came to the
That-
jab, he said, F your freedoms. And at that
Right.
point, as a governor, I'll still watch his movies. He can still shoot a machine gun and go, get to the chopper. I'm still good with that, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I'll watch him be the predator or whatever, or get to the chopper. It's fine, but that's it.
Terminator.
That's
Terminator.
all. He can be the Terminator. It's
I
fine.
would love to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
I gotta say,
Yes.
I would like to take a photo with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Absolutely. So yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I just think that's kind of funny anyway. So No Someone's Live says seems it's a song from a post-punk band. Oh, so somebody new. There we go. Thank you, Mike. That's what Lebanon Hanover is. Schwarzenegger Tears. It was a song. There we go.
Oh.
Okay, now that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. There we go. Thank you for that, Mike. Mike was watching. He hooked us up. So I appreciate that. That is all good. So yeah, let me grab a couple. I have a lot of comments here. If I grab a couple more, guys, if you don't mind. But before I go to comments, let me ask this question before I go. Please, guys, tell me what you're doing and how we can find you before I go to more comments. If I could start, if you don't mind, Sarah, tell me what you're doing and where we can find you.
So right now, I was on all socials. I'm kind of just on X, Twitter now. And basically what I'm trying to do just what we were talking about. And that's, I'm a blue collar space. I'm, a business owner, a small business owner, a woman kind of in a man's world, but I'm very much about freedom and authenticity and creating a space where it's not so intimidating and cliquey, so that people that are like myself, that are on the fence or were on the left or politically homeless, can come and just find a place where it's like, there are people like me and we can start dialogue. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Daniel, tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I'm a PhD in economics candidate at Columbia University, going into the 5th year now. I founded the Dissident Project that we talked about earlier, where we sent immigrants who lived in authoritarian countries to speak at high schools to tell their stories. I speak for Young America's Foundation, and I'm in their board of advisors at college campuses. So if you want to book me for your college, also YAF.org. And then I work at the Manhattan Institute doing immigration research. So you can follow me on X at Daniel D. Martino and on Instagram too.
There we go. Allie, tell us about yourself. What are you doing?
All right, guys. I'm glad you left me for last. I do lots of things. No, I'm the National Director of Civic Engagement with Moms for America. You can go to momsforamerica.us and follow us there. We're on all platforms. We have a show actually called The Mom View that is actually aired. It's on Rumbles where you can find it. We're supposed to be on another network. We're hoping to be picked up pretty soon. But you can go watch. Our first couple of episodes have aired. I'm also co-host of the show called The Homefront that you can find on patriot.tv. I'm also the National Operations Coordinator for Operation Free Nation, which helps veterans get more politically active. I do a lot of space through X. It's like radio for those of you that don't know what spaces are. I do a lot of those. Just trying to get people more civically involved, more civically engaged, so that we can push the needle for America's America. We want to make sure that America is taken care of, our interests are taken care of, and the American people are taken care of. And that's it. That's what I do.
There we go. Guys, if you like what we're talking about, do me a favor, click the button that is like. I asked you once before, click it again. If you haven't clicked it, it's because you hate veterans. That's the reason why. So click it, or you hate veterans. That's it. All done. So yes, also, please, if you're watching on Twitter or X, please repost this or retweet this, whatever. You can super chat me if you want to. All good. Happy to have a super chats. They go right to the front. But no matter what, please, you can become a member if you want to. Click and join. That's always good. Love that. And also, you can subscribe if you want to. Also helps me. Subscribe and click that bell for notifications, because if you don't, I will be shadow banned and you will never hear from me again. And when I die, it will be your fault. So just keep that in mind. I do not want you to be accomplice to death. That's a bad thing. You're not a murderer. Well, some of you are, but I'm sure most of you are not. So don't do that. Click that subscribe and also click the bell for notifications. It does matter. Please do so. And always follow the 3 people here who are giving us so much of their time.
Larry, I have to get going.
Okay.
To get going, but it's been a pleasure. The 3 of you.
Of
Larry,
course.
Allie.
Yes.
So great to connect. So I'll definitely keep tabs with the 3 of you. Great to meet you, Sarah and Allie.
So nice to meet you, Daniel.
I will let you go, Daniel. And by the way, Daniel and I were on a panel together at Freedom Fest a couple years back.
I'll be back next year, hopefully.
There we go. I will see you there.
Definitely at LibertyCon too.
There we go. I will see you there. All right, Daniel. Thank you, my friend. Bye. Good seeing you. So can I keep you for a couple more minutes? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to keep you guys for a little bit. All right. Because I have a couple more. I have an interesting comment that I want to bring up, which I think is interesting. Robert says, I don't know how much I can agree with getting rid of the federal oversight. Historically speaking, it was typically state and local governance that made Black Americans' lives hell. It's a valid criticism. I think if you look at, particularly if you look at maybe the 40s, 50s, 60s, in that time frame specifically, there are many, obviously, but that time specifically, when the country was trying to kind of get away and make things better, particularly after World War II, when the Black soldiers came back from World War II, I think it was local government that was the most recalcitrant in giving, not just giving Black people rights, but physically assaulting and harming and taking property rights.
No,
True
I can
or
agree with that. I can agree with that, Robert. I think that that is important. But you have to also understand that we're into that's two separate times, right? Yes, I understand that we have to have we do need to have federal oversight. What we don't need is three-letter agencies that have their own oversight. So Congress is supposed to oversee these three-letter agencies and hold them accountable. Instead, what we currently have is endless Senate hearings that lead nowhere. There's no accountability anywhere. There's just strongly worded statements that get put out, strongly worded tweets and Facebook posts that get put out, no actual accountability. But that requires an educated voter populace to understand the proper roles and responsibilities to make sure that they have actual true representation sitting in these offices. And that requires you to kind of be active, take a participation role within your civics, it being an American, because that is what that means, right? If we don't participate in our government, we get government overreach. So that's what I have to say about that.
Let me give my 2 cents on this one. I think he's right. However, there's a however here. It's because government hasn't focused on the most important thing. If government focuses on one critical thing, which is protecting the rights of all of its citizens, then I'm okay with government existing, right? If government's going to exist, it should exist for one thing, right? In my perfect world, in my magical world, if I ran for governor, New York State would only have one really rule, and that would be to protect the rights of the individual from local bullies, from exactly what he's talking about, right?
Exactly.
So
that's the point, right, Larry?
Yes.
That's the point. That's the proper role and responsibility of a governor. Our representatives are supposed to protect the rights of the people as written through our Constitution and your state constitution. When they do not do that, they become an invalid government, and you have the ability to overthrow them and remove them. That's your power as a person in this country.
Yes. Sarah, any view on this?
I definitely think that there was a point when the intentions and the federal oversight was necessary and beneficial in certain areas. But now, because there's so much corruption and deep state influence and so much divisiveness, the narrative that's being pushed, I think, is actually very counterproductive and, dare I say, unsafe for the Black voter and the Black population, because there's a ton of indoctrination, disempowering, and it's, the intention of why these institutions were started in the first place is not where we're at now.
There we go. So, but this is a place I hope that we can have conversations, because Morgan says we can always use more places to have civil conversations. Colleges used to be the place to do that, but lol. He's right.
High schools used to be the place to do that. Do you remember?
High school too.
Class used to be able to have these conversations, and now they completely shut it down. Like, kids can't even walk into school with a cross on their shirt, or something that has the American flag, and they're told that it's too political. You have to put it away. Excuse me, the American flag is too political? What are you talking about? So yes, I agree with that. We need to have more civil conversations, but in order for us to have these civil conversations, we have to put away the emotional part of it and actually get to the root, and which is the common ground, right? Meet people where they are. Don't have conversations where you're belligerent with the other person. You want to ask more questions than you do run your mouth. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know. I mean, I feel like most places, and I try, like, I am obviously libertarian, but I have non-libertarians on all the time, right? Robert says, Larry Sharpe, why don't you do a show with people who describe themselves as progressives? I do, but not as much, for a very important reason. They won't come on, Robert. I ask them all the time. And my team, some people on my team, they know. Missy's on my team, as you guys know. You see Missy all the time. We ask all the time. They don't come on, which is why I often go on their shows. If you've seen, I've gone on on Vosh's show. I've gone on Destiny's show. I've gone on the Vanguard. I've gone on Sam Cedar's Majority Report. I was on News Nation with Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks. I go to them all the time. They don't want to come to me, right? And you know who I've had? I literally have had the Green Party. Howie Hawkins is my friend. I've had him on my show like 3 times. He literally ran as the Green Party and socialist candidate in 2020. He's a socialist. I had him on my show multiple times. So I do it, and I try to get more. It's just challenging. They don't want to come on. So that's the reason. But I do it often. I will go on all the. I've been on Sabby Sab show, Sabrina Salvati, been on her show, right? I've been on the Revolutionary Blackout Network show. They're open communists, and they've come on my show too. I have 2 of them on my show. I'm not trying to be crazy, Rob. I'm just telling you that you can go check my stuff. I am open to progressives like no tomorrow. One of the guys named Rome, who's from the Revolutionary Blackout Network, literally made a movie about communism called Death to America. I reviewed it on my show. You can go check it. I reviewed it. I asked him first if I could show it. He said yes. I then showed it and I reviewed it. And I was very open. So I absolutely do that a lot. Mike, thank you. Mike says it right here. Mike is also part of my team. He says it was part of a Thursday 1-hour lunch show with Larry Sharpe, the progressive left. No others on the left which come on. The left avoid speaking outside the echo chambers often. It's true. So I go out of my way. So I will go to them because often I can't get them. I don't know. Do you have a similar situation, Sarah? Is it just me or?
Yeah, and I'll message you and recommend a couple that I think may be willing to have a conversation. But yeah, it's very much an echo chamber, and that's the biggest tell will be the open invite for Kamala to go on and do an interview with Elon. Yeah, right.
Right. Yes.
But the invitation's there. But it's true. There's, if it can't be spun into a hit piece or misrepresented sound bites.
Yes.
There's we do, in some of the spaces that I do on X, we do have some that will come in. But even entering that territory, a lot of times it's a hostile environment crossing into the other side. But I don't doubt that you definitely try to have them come on your show and they're reluctant.
Yes. And Robert, if you want to let me know through either Facebook or Twitter or something, or you can let any of my team know, if you have someone who wants to come on, I'm happy to have them on. I'm happy to have that conversation. I had the presidential candidate on from the Socialist Party. I've had people on. I've had the opposite. I've had Constitution Party people on. I interviewed the guy from the Prohibition Party. Yes, there is a Prohibition Party. Okay. I had a guy on him. So I do all the things. This show is for everybody. That is absolutely for sure. So yes. So I don't know, Ali, have you found that to be true?
So I have something interesting. I mean, when I ran for school board, I was told by the Republican Party not to go anywhere near the progressives. You're not going to win their vote. It's pointless. They're just going to aggravate you. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go because I need their vote. It's school board and I'm a representative of everybody. Even if I was running for state house or state senate or Congress, I'm representing everybody in my district. And so it's important for me to understand where everybody is, what they're thinking, what issues are, close to their heart and their communities. And so I would go into these places. I went to the NAACP and I've been several times. And every time I'd go into these places, I was called white supremacist and blackface. I was called Uncle Tom. I was called coon. I was called, people made fun of the way my hair was.
I know the feeling.
Right. It's like weird. It's like I would wear my hair straight and they're like, girl, you got a wig. You shouldn't be coming up in here. And I'm like, hang on. I'm just here trying to figure out what your issues are. It's not about my personality. Right. It's not about my appearance. I want to know what the issues are and how can we figure out a solution so that everybody benefits. Right. And at the end of the day, I earned 10,000 votes from Democrats and independents because I stood on principle. I wasn't afraid to walk into these rooms. I will go on any platform and speak my truth, speak the truth because I know what it is. And I just don't back down. That's just not my personality. I do know friends of mine that are a part of the walkaway movement. Brandon Strzok, he runs that movement and he goes into all of the progressive areas, the progressive colleges. He'll have them on debates and they're not belligerent, right? Like he's not belligerent. His panels are never belligerent and they're all walkaways. They were all liberal or progressive beforehand and with new information, they changed their minds. And I think that's what we need to do. Don't be afraid to have these conversations. It's so important that we get out of the echo chamber and just come together as people and figure out how we can have a normal conversation, talk about the issues, not make it personal, but figure out a solution.
It's funny. Joel remembers. Joel says Larry's been called a white supremacist. It's true. He's right. Look, Joel's right. Yes, 100%. Everything you're talking about, Ali, I know all of it. I've been through all of that too. I totally get it. Yes, absolutely true.
I like, sure,
guys,
yeah. Call me white supremacist. I don't want your child raped by a school book. Like, I'll take it. I'll wear it as a badge of honor. Call me whatever you want.
There we go. Guys, if you like what you see, I hope you click the like button, but I also hope you will support the people who came here. Follow them on Twitter, see what they're doing, check out what they do, check out Sarah's spaces, check out what Ali's doing in all her places. Please do that. Guys, I want to wrap this up. Anything I'm missing, Sarah? Anything I'm missing, Ali, before we wrap this up?
I would just say my kind of motto, like you were saying, when people are throwing names, are my motto, and that I've just kind of adopted, and I think I'm going to trademark it at some point on Twitter X, is to become untrollable.
Ooh.
And that is something that it transcends when you've got a message that you're trying to spread and you're trying to relate with people. It's kind of, Twitter's like you learn, or X, sorry, you're learning like life skills, because people they're intense on there. But to become untrollable, that's where the conversation is. And don't let yourself get rattled. Yeah.
I'm so glad I asked. Nicely done.
I
Ali, beat that. Follow that now. Come on now.
I will use it. I will give you credit, Sarah, for sure, because I love that.
There we go.
Because it kind of goes hand in hand with be ungovernable, right?
100%.
Don't allow the government to control every aspect of your life. You have to be an active participant. Ben Franklin was asked, what do we have here, after he signed the Declaration of Independence, by a woman who was witnessing the incident? And he said, a republic, if you can keep it. General Washington said, we have to have an educated voter populace or we lose the experiment of America. So I implore all of your audience members to get involved in their local, because local action equals national impact. Get involved, understand, read your Constitution. And if you don't know where to go, you can find me at momsforamerica.us. You can find me on everywhere, every platform, and I can help you understand how to be politically active so that government does not rule your life.
There we go. Guys, I'm going to ask you, if you're watching, one more favor, if I could. After this is over, do me a favor. Come back to wherever you watch, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, come back and leave a comment. I will respond to that comment. Why? Because you know who likes that. You all know who likes that very much. It is the one, the only, Mr. Al Gore Rhythm. He likes that very much. So Mr. Al Gore Rhythm likes that so much. Make him happy and come back and put a comment, and I'll respond, and everybody's happy. Guys, I want to say thank you so much for this evening. Give me so much of your time. I appreciate it. I will be back on this week again, I promise. I will see all of you very soon.